Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be doing part 8 of the story about the husbands that joined forces against their wives that were all cheating on them on their so-called girls' nights. And where things left off before, we were just about to learn all about Debbie and Sid. Debbie was the 4th girl that would join their little girls' groups on occasion. And Debbie is apparently the younger sister of Liv, who was the ringleader of all the gals that were cheating. So now we're about to learn all about her and this whole situation, and it's not going to surprise any of you at all in this crazy journey with this guy's lives. So picking up where I left off, he says here about Sid, the husband of Debbie. It says, was it Liv's sister Debbie who participated in girls' nights? He says here, we were not going to tell Sid that his wife Debbie was the serial cheater unless we're sure that is the wife that Jesse's talking about. The three of us went to get lunch after working out. James hadn't heard from Liv since the custody hearing. He's not about to call her and ask her about Debbie. We agreed that Steve would ask Jesse for more details, or I could ask Fran about Debbie. Fran had called and left a message when we were working out. She wanted the kids on Sunday. Oh, now suddenly she wants the kids? Our custody hearing was coming up, so Fran needed to pretend to be a good mother and spend time with the kids. I called Fran back and told her she could take the kids on Sunday for a couple of hours. We worked out the details, then I asked her about Debbie. I gotta wonder if your kids even want to be around their mother. Really? I forget how old. I believe this guy has 2 boys, and I think they're under 10 years old, but is there a point when the kids say, I don't want to be around this parent? That's taken into consideration? Fran asked me how I knew about Debbie. I told her that I understood that Debbie was a regular participant in their Friday nights. Who is she? Fran didn't answer for a while. Well, her silence said everything he needed to know. And then said, no one I knew. Just someone who came for drinks some Fridays. I asked again, who is she? How do the wives know her? I told Fran I thought she was going to be honest with me from now on. Fran hesitated, but finally said Debbie is Liv's sister. She joined the wives occasionally on girls' nights. Debbie was married with 3 young children, but also had a boyfriend. When she got angry or bored with her boyfriend, she joined Liv, Fran, and Jesse on girls' nights. Fran laughed and said Debbie was one crazy female. You're all crazy. So she's saying this girl's crazy. That takes the crazy to a whole new level. So Debbie was Sid's wife. What should we do about it? Do we owe it to Debbie's husband, Sid, to tell him about Debbie's infidelity? Dude, really? Of course you owe it to him to tell him. But you better have some proof, because otherwise that guy's going to be coming after you. The 3 of us agreed that we had to do that. How? James could call his brother-in-law and tell him about Debbie and offer any support from us that he needed. We talked about how James should approach Sid with the information. Steve said, F it, just tell him. He'll believe James or he won't. No deep planning needed, we'll call him together. Well, no guy's going to want to hear his wife is up to no good. So they're going to have a tough time there, but they would need some evidence. Probably was not a good idea to do it sitting in a bar. We finished lunch and went to Steve's car to call Sid. Sid answered the phone and James was on speaker. After the Happy New Year's and some small talk, James asked Sid if Debbie ever joined Liv for girls' nights or at bars on Fridays. Sid asked why James was asking this. See, he's not dumb. He may be dumb with his wife, but he's not that dumb. James said the 3 wives were dressed up and went out to bars on Friday girls' nights. We were told that Debbie joined them occasionally. Sid said Debbie never went to the bars. Oh my God. Debbie dressing up and going to bars. Ridiculous. Not happening. Sid would never allow that. Debbie knew better than to even ask about going to a bar without Sid. Not that Debbie would ever want to do that. They never went to bars. Oh my God, this guy's had his head in the sand. Or his head up his butt. Sid then asked if James was talking about the wives gathering at Liv's and James's house on Friday night. Debbie did go to Liv's on Friday night for wine, cheese, and gossip with a bunch of women. Debbie said they all got drunk and watched chick flicks, but they never went anywhere. That was the story initially. They certainly never went to bars. Debbie was at Liv's and James's house last night. She drank too much and James did not want her to drive home, so she slept over at Liv's. Debbie slept at Liv's most Friday nights. James was there and knew this already. It was at James's house, and James knew the wives didn't go to bars. What was James suggesting? Oh man, this poor bastard. James asked Sid why he never mentioned or asked James about these Friday nights. Sid said Debbie told him that James was angry about the girls coming over every Friday. It was a huge inconvenience for James, who had to make himself and the kids scarce for the hen parties. Debbie told Sid that he talked to James about the wives coming over on Fridays. It would just start a big fight between Liv and James. Did Sid want the girls at their place on Fridays? Don't rock the boat. Don't bring it up to James. Sid said there was no reason to say anything to James about it. James told Sid that their wives never came to James's home on Fridays. Never. Debbie never slept over on Fridays. The wives, Liv, Fran, and Jesse, went to the bars and hooked up with men. Liv, Fran, and Jesse all confessed to serial infidelity. James told Sid that Steve and I were in the car listening to this conversation. We just found out that Debbie was a part of the girls' nights out. Oh boy. Also, Fran and Jesse said Debbie only went out with the other wives every month or so, not every Friday. If Debbie was out every Friday, she was not with Liv, Fran, and Jesse most of those Fridays, and never at James's house. James told Sid that we were told that Debbie, besides hooking up with random dudes, has a long-term boyfriend she's been seeing. When she wasn't with the other wives on Friday nights, she was with her boyfriend or with some other hookup. This guy's whole world is imploding here because obviously he was foolish enough to no doubt make his wife his whole world. Regardless, none of the wives were at James's that night. After James found out about Liv's infidelity, he threw her out. Liv has not been inside James' home for over a month. Either has Debbie. He and Liv are divorcing, and last James heard, Liv was living at her parents'. Nothing from Sid. After a while, James said Sid said this is all BS. If any of this was true, he certainly would know about it. He's one of those, huh? Nobody has said anything about Liv and James divorcing. Why were they calling him, making up lies about Debbie? Debbie would never be unfaithful to Sid. Why was James telling Sid this shit? I'd be like, bro, we are trying to help you. I know you don't want to hear this. I know this is awful. We're not trying to ruin your life, but this is happening to us. We didn't want to hear it either. And at that point, then, if he doesn't want to hear it and calls you every negative, nasty name in the book, he'll be like, okay. Well, you can do some digging on your own. You know our number. And if you want to call us, you can call us. Now walk away. Steve said everything James said about Debbie came from Fran and Jesse. James was not making any of this up. All three of us, James, Steve, and me, were divorcing our wives because of infidelity. No one's lying to him but Debbie. Steve said if Sid doesn't believe us, just ask to look at Debbie's phone and see her reaction. Just make sure he gets to her phone before Debbie deletes everything. Sid said that just because our wives were SLUTS doesn't mean that Debbie is part of anything. Yeah, well, birds of a feather flock together. He said that Debbie would never do this any kind of thing. Steve repeated that Sid just asked to see Debbie's phone. When she refused to let him look at it, Sid will know the truth. James said Sid should ask Debbie what she's been doing on Friday nights. She certainly was never at James and Liv's house. Not last night, not ever. Where was Sid? Where was she? Sid said not to call him again. This was all BS, and he hung up on James. Okay. Well, these guys tried, and this guy can either investigate or he won't. Sid called James later that afternoon to apologize. Oh, how interesting. Everything James told Sid about Debbie was true. Sid thanked James for telling him. He's going to divorce Debbie. Can James recommend a good divorce attorney? James gave Sid the divorce lawyer we are using. James told Sid about the support group meetings on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at the gym and suggested Sid attend. Sid said he'd been to the gym Tuesday if James was sure Sid was not intruding. Not intruding, he's more than welcome. So obviously Sid went home and did some homework and found out that everything they were saying about Debbie's true. And we're going to get into that momentarily. James also told Sid about your channels and how to find you on YouTube. Oh, this should be fun. There were 6 videos detailing what their wives had been up to on the girls' nights. James told Sid how to find those videos and suggests Sid start watching them but continue to watch your videos. Sid sounded skeptical, but he said he'd watch. Everybody's skeptical of, well, a lot of people are skeptical of this channel and other channels like mine that are recommended by guys because, let's be honest, most guys don't want to hear the ugly truth. And then once they find my channel, they don't think I'm the biggest douchebag on the planet. They tend to get addicted to this. We'll see. Welcome, Sid, to the community. Sid came to our next Tuesday meeting at the gym. I asked about his children, and they were living with him, but he left them with his parents while he was at the gym. What happened with Debbie? That's what we all want to know. Sid seemed reluctant to talk about himself. He's met Steve and me, but we didn't know each other very well. James explained that nothing any of us says ever goes further than the other three husbands. Sid can tell us anything he wants to, and it will not go further. We can expect the same from him. Well, unless you tell me on this channel, and I share it with the whole fucking world, but everybody's had permission to this point. Sid said he watched your videos about our wives, and there's a lot in those videos that reveal private discussions. I told him that Steve and I and James read the posts before I send them. They approved of everything. If they hadn't, I would have taken out anything they objected to. It'll be the same with anything Sid tells us. I told him I'll probably do an update, and that will include him, and he will read it, and if I approve it, and if he approves of anything, I say before I send it to SSM. Yeah, remember guys, whatever you send me, I'm going to read. So if there's things you don't want said in these stories I cover, your personal emails and everything, then you either better tell me to block something out or don't include it. Because otherwise, you send me your stuff, I'm going to read it. I'll never reveal your names, your personal information, your email address, any stuff like that. But remember, when you send it in, just make sure that you're clear, and anybody that's in the story is clear, even though you use code names and aliases and everything. Make sure you tell me parts you don't want read or leave the stuff out that you don't want out there. Make that clear. I'm more than willing to work with you guys. I think I gained that reputation. James continued that we have all been through this with our wives. We're all divorcing. There is nothing that Debbie did that our wives has not done. We're here to support and provide advice to one another. We have been where Sid is right now. Not very long ago, and Sid doesn't have to be embarrassed about anything. It might be good to talk about it. It will be good to talk about it. It's embarrassing as all hell, but he'll feel better. Eventually. Sid remained reluctant to discuss what happened, so James said he has some stuff to report. James told us that he got a call from Liv Sunday morning around 1 o'clock in the morning. 1 a.m., really? He was still mostly asleep, so he answered. The first time he heard from Liv since the custody hearing. Liv asked James why he was telling Sid lies about Debbie. Oh, for goodness sake. Debbie was never a part of anything. Who told James that? Sid tossed Debbie out, and she's now at their parents with Liv. All because of the lies James told Sid about Debbie. God, these gals are something else, huh? James should call Sid immediately and tell him nothing he said about Debbie is true. James told Liv he was hoping to have attended the memorial service for her by now. What was Liv waiting for? He hung up on her. Sid said Debbie finally admitted to her infidelity, but Liv is denying it. These women are insane. Sid looked at us and said, okay, he's still trying to process all this, and it might help to talk about it. Maybe get his thoughts in order. He says here, James called Sid early Saturday morning to tell him about Debbie. Debbie was at work, or at least that's where she said she was going to be Saturday morning, and after she got home from staying over at Liv's. Debbie had project deadlines and worked long hours every few weeks to complete those projects. Define projects. If the project means some other dude's sausage, that's the project. She might not get home those weeknights until after 11 p.m., sometimes even later, and she needed to work some Saturdays. Not every night, though. Most nights Debbie was home right after work, just every few weeks, but Debbie never worked late on Fridays. On Fridays, she always went to Liv's for wine and cheese and gossip with the girls, and almost always stayed overnight at her sister's and James's house. At least that's what she told Sid. You'd think after a while he would investigate this a little bit just out of, common sense. After James called Sid decided to see if Debbie was at work. He dropped the kids with his parents and drove to Debbie's job. You can see Debbie's office from the street. There were no lights on in any of the offices. The whole building was dark and locked up tight. Sid called Debbie, and she didn't answer, but called Sid back about 5 minutes later. Debbie apologized for not answering Sid's call. She was in a meeting and couldn't answer. Again, define meeting. And how many dudes were at the meeting? Where was the meeting? In the conference room. Why was Sid asking about where the meeting was? Sid didn't answer. The conference room is down the hall from Liv's office and is also visible from the street. The conference room was dark. There was no meeting there. Well, unless they're doing a company game of hide and go seek in the dark, then obviously this is bullshit. Where's Debbie now? In her office working. Debbie asked what this was about. Why was Sid calling? Was Sid okay? Were the kids okay? Sid told us he never heard an elevator ding. There was no elevator anywhere near Debbie's office. Sid asked Debbie what time she was coming home. Debbie paused before answering. A telephone call from Sid when she was at work was very unusual. Debbie had told Sid when she got this job she was not allowed to take personal calls. Sid called her only if there was an emergency. What a load of crap. Any professional gig, you're allowed to take calls, for goodness sake, especially if there's an emergency. Debbie knew Sid had a problem about something. Debbie figured that she had better get home to find out what it was and take care of it. Debbie told Sid she missed him and the kids and was going to leave work in a few minutes. Yeah, her actions show perfectly how much she misses her husband. She could finish up what she was doing after New Year's. She wanted to be with Sid and the kids. She'll be home in less than an hour. Sid answered, sure, hurry home. Yeah, Sid was in the living room when Debbie arrived home less than 30 minutes later. Well, she was really hauling butt to get home. She said it was going to be an hour, now it's 30 minutes. The kids were still Sid's parents. Debbie asked, where are the kids? Sid said he heard Liv and James were divorcing. Liv has been living in her parents. Debbie asked where Sid had heard that from. Sid asked, is it true? Debbie said that Liv and James were having some problems and that Liv was living in her parents. So Sid asked, Debbie was not at Liv's last night. Debbie said Liv was at her parents', so the girls met there. Debbie slept over there. She forgot to tell Sid she was going to her parents instead of Liv's and James's house. Oh, darn, I forgot to mention that. Have an answer for everything, huh? It really didn't matter where they met. Same thing. Wine, gossip, and a movie. Who told Sid, Liv, and James were divorcing? Sid asked where Debbie was today. Debbie said at work. Where did Sid think she was? She just called her at work, not 45 minutes. Sid just called her at work 45 minutes ago. Sid said he called from outside her building. There was no one working. Debbie went pale and didn't say anything. She wasn't expecting that. She asked why Sid was outside her office building. Now she's going to twist it around and make him be the bad guy here. Sid told her he decided he'd try and bluff and told Debbie he knew she was at a hotel when they talked on the phone. Debbie asked how he knew that. Sid just stared at her. Debbie finally asked, smiling, is that what this is about? There's an innocent enough explanation. Sure. Debbie was not at the office because there was an electrical problem in their office building. They got what they needed from the office, but had to work in the conference rooms the company got them at a hotel. Oh my God. That's why she was at a hotel. She had said on the phone she was in her office because she wanted to get out of there and get home. She didn't want to get a long explanation on the phone about where she was and why. Not with her coworkers sitting around her in a conference room listening. But it was all innocent. She was working. Let me tell you something, guys. Any guy out there that is married or has a girlfriend, if your wife or girlfriend suddenly had to then relocate from her job and work inside a hotel conference room and go outside of their environment and all that, believe me, you would hear her bitching and complaining about that ahead of time, during, and after. So, come on here. What a load of crap. Debbie said that she was hungry. She didn't get to eat lunch. Well, she's been eating sausage all night. Did Sid want her to make something or did he want to go out? She wanted to stay in. They should take advantage of the kids not being there. Debbie smiled and said, let's hit the sack. I'm really hungry for you. We can eat afterwards. Debbie, smiling, kicked off her shoes and started to undo her skirt. Everything's transactional with these broads. Sid told Debbie to sit down. He wanted her phone. Here we go. All the color drained from Debbie's face. Debbie asked why Sid wanted her phone. Why do you think, lady? Sid said he wanted to look through her phone and give him the phone. Debbie refused. It's a work phone and she's not allowed to give it to anyone outside of work. What is there, information on there that could be, that could influence, that could be useful for insider trading or something on that phone? Really? She could get fired. Sid told her, give him the phone. Sid and Debbie argued about the phone for a while. The usual BS from Debbie when a wife is trying to hide her cheating. Sid is insecure. Sid is controlling. Sid is paranoid. Her phone is private, blah, blah, blah. Sid is invading her privacy. Sid has trust issues. The marriage is built on trust. Sid is destroying that trust. Sid obviously needs to get help. Sid calmly kept insisting that Debbie give him her phone. Debbie kept refusing to hand it over and telling Sid what a horrible person he was for asking for her phone. And by the way, all that shit she was saying is straight out of the Hobag handbook. gaslighting, all that. Debbie told Sid that she had to use the bathroom. She got her phone out of the bag to take it with her. Oh, no. Oh, no, you can leave your phone out here while you go do your business. Sid told Debbie that if she took her phone to the bathroom, he would have gone before she returned. He will file for divorce. The next time she sees or talks to him will be at the divorce hearing, and Debbie sat back down, phone in hand, crying. Of course, unleashed Niagara Falls. She asked Sid why he's being so mean. Sid told Debbie to give him her phone or leave. If she doesn't hand over the phone, get out. Sid will leave, and if he leaves, he's never coming back. Their marriage will be over. Debbie said she's not leaving and she's not giving Sid her phone. We have heard this song and dance so many times, guys. Sid has evidently gone crazy. His suspicions will destroy their marriage. Lady, the marriage has been destroyed a long time ago. Sid got up and went to pack his bag. Debbie followed him, watching him pack, yelling at him that he's being ridiculous. What is the matter with Sid all of a sudden? She's never lied or cheated on Sid. Pinocchio's nose is growing. What is all this about? She explained where she was last night and why she was at a hotel today. She was working. There's nothing Sid needs to be concerned about. She loves Sid. There's no one else. Where was Sid going? Stop packing and talk to her. Sid ignored her and continued to pack. Most powerful thing a man can do is walk away, gentlemen. It's amazing what happens. As he was literally on his way out the front door with his bag, Debbie gave Sid her phone. And she started crying. Sid told us that there was all three on Debbie's phone. Very explicit text with a guy Debbie's been seeing regularly. Hookups with other guys, disgusting pictures, times, places, hotels to meet guys, etc. Meetings at bars with Liv and the others on Fridays. Debbie, Liv, and Fran and Jesse comparing the guys, passing guys on from one wife to the other. Sid forwarded some of the texts and emails to his phone. And there you go. It is amazing, not just in this saga, but in other stories, how the similarities. It's amazing. This is why every guy should watch videos like mine, hear these stories, to be aware of the things that can happen in the BS. But anyhow, guys, this is going to be wrapping up part 8 here, and I'll be continuing on part 9 in an hour. So set your watches, set your clocks, whatever you want to set, and you can find out how the whole thing wraps up, because we're going to get more into Debbie and Sid and all these wacko people in this crazy-ass story here. See you then.